Hey everybody, so we are here in Lebanon, Pennsylvania at the Hebron Moravian Cemetery. We've actually been here twice before. We came here the first time with Cliff's channel, Wandering Woodsman, and this is one of the oldest cemeteries in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. This is, like I said, it's a Moravian cemetery, so the original cemetery, which is over here, they actually have everything numbered on this register. Unfortunately, it's not in order where the stones are actually sitting, so there's a couple of really cool graves that we're going to look for. Ralph and a friend are going to be showing up here at some point here shortly. I just wanted to do a little bit of an intro, do a couple shorts and things like that I'm filming. One of the most famous people buried here, or probably the most famous, would be Curtis Grubb. He was the son of Peter Grubb. We talked about the history of Cornwall. Cornwall, Pennsylvania was founded, I believe, 1740, 1742 by Peter Grubb. He is the one that started Cornwall iron furnace. He was the head of the Grubb family iron dynasty. His son Curtis and his son Peter Jr. would take that dynasty over, ultimately selling Cornwall to the Coleman family, to Robert Coleman, which started their iron dynasty. The Grubb family's home headquarters would have been Mount Hope Estate. This is now the site of the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair. Really a tremendous dynasty, and actually there's a little bit of controversy here as well with Curtis Grubb and his son Curtis Jr. because he had taken on, I'm not sure if she was a common law wife, but after his wife had died, this woman, Hannah, had Peter Jr. has also had his wife pass away, which was not uncommon back in that age. And I guess this lady worked in their house. She wound up being together with Peter, which was a little bit of a scandal, and then ultimately wound up being with Curtis and had a son. And then when Curtis died, because he was the older son, he got 2/3 of the father's estate and then a bunch of his uncle's estate. He actually passed on quite a bit in his last will and testament to Hannah and their son, I think it was Jehu. And needless to say, the people within the Grubb family weren't very happy. But this is an extraordinary cemetery. We're going to walk around it a bit and check out some of the really unique markers. There's a couple people here that were actually murdered in French and Indian War era raids by Native Americans. There are actually a couple of Native Americans that are buried here as well. So we're going to look at this grave register, read the center, and then we're going to start going around the cemetery once Ralph and his friend get here. So here you see the grave register of Hebron Moravian Cemetery, the Unus Fratrorum, 1748, Memoriam, George G. Ulrich, 1812 to 1882, and his wife Susanna Schindel, 1817 to 1901, who are the last surviving members of the Hebron Moravian congregation. This tablet is presented by Philip A. Ulrich and wife Sarah A. Sheets. Grave markers and rostrum by contributions of friends. So the Revolutionary War, Adam Orth, grave 162, served in French and Indian War, organizes Associated Battalion 1776. Provost Marshal with Washington at Trenton, New Jersey. Baldassar Orth, that's definitely a name from back then. Junior, grade 161, Captain 1st Company, 2nd Battalion, Lancaster Company Militia. Back then, this would have been Lancaster County. Lebanon County didn't exist until 1812. I think for a short time it was also part of when Dauphin County got made. This is part of Dauphin County, and sort of a bizarre how the counties got formed. It would have originally been part of Chester County before even Lancaster County was formed. In Northumberland County against Indians, 1780, Henry Bueller, graves 174, 3rd Lieutenant, 9th Company, 1st Battalion, Lancaster Company, Associators, Flying Camp, and Long Island Campaign. Curtis Grubb, Esquire, Cornwall Furnaces, grave 283, Member Committee of Inspection, Observations, December 15th of 74, Colonel, 2nd Battalion, Lancaster Company, Associators, 1775. 1776 to 1777 in Long Island and Trenton, New Jersey campaigns, Sub-Lieutenant Lancaster Company, October 23rd, 1777, August 27th, 1777, escorted first Hessian prisoners to the Hebron Church. They actually held a bunch of the Hessian troops from Trenton here at the Hebron Church. And the Hebron Church would have been here somewhere right near the cemetery. The second Moravian church was actually over, I believe, on 10th Street, 72 North. My sister's, one of her best friends was actually, she had a really rare disease, and she was, her funeral services were there in that stone Moravian church, and just a stunning church. Now here's where we get some more interesting history. On top of that, French and Indian War. John Spittler Jr., grave 28, slain by Indians May 16, 1757. Johann Spittler Sr., grave 33, victim of Indian cruelty, 1757. And the funny thing is, like, those two graves are right next to each other, but the numbers are not the same. I don't understand how they had exactly had the numbers made up, but they're not by order. Christian Benner Sr. and Christian Benner Jr., graves 34 and 63. Victims of Indian cruelty, 1757. The wife of Christian Benner Sr., captured by Indians, never returned, winter of 1757 to 58, which means she most likely was killed, because at the end of the first part of the French and Indian War, according to the negotiations, all prisoners of war had to be returned. We've talked about Regina Leininger, and there were a whole lot of other ones. They were taken out the western side of Pennsylvania. It wasn't Pennsylvania at that stage. It wasn't part of Pennsylvania yet. It was French territory, and they had to all be returned, and they followed their word. So if she wasn't returned, she died somewhere along the journey out there. And it was probably, I mean, some depending on the tribe, some of them were treated very well, and then others not so much. So we are going to go through here, check out a couple cool individual things. It's actually over here in the wall. They have a couple grave markers. I thought this was always like really, really sort of neat. And this has some of that old Germanic iconography. Just sort of weird. You have the head there, and some kind of flower over a Stargate. And then that one's just not even readable. But these are some of the stones that were upright. And because this was originally Moravian Cemetery, all the stones over here lay flat on the ground. How the Moravians do, and we've talked about this several times. We've visited a couple. Oh, hey everybody! We're here with.
I'm Crazy Ralph.
So we're on another adventure. We're here at Hebron Moravian Cemetery. I had opened this earlier, but we're going to do a couple different places that have unique sort of haunted.
Where is Hebron at, man?
Hebron is here. This is the town of Hebron.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
But aren't we standing in the middle of Lebanon City?
Originally, Lebanon City was two cities.
Seriously?
It was Steightstown, down where the Lebanon...
Steightsvag is.
Yeah, Steightsvag. Down there where Tabor is and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
On the west side of Lebanon.
Oh, I didn't know that.
George Steitz founded that town.
Okay.
And Hebron here and Steightstown were competing to be which one would wind up being the
county seat?
The winning city and be the county seat.
Sure.
So eventually it got named Lebanon, and Hebron was actually bigger.
Oh, yeah?
Before that, but then Lebanon just took off. And it eventually encompassed. I
never knew this. I'm serious. That's something I learned. I was just being smart because that's what I do.
So this is actually Hebron. Okay. Used to be Hebron.
Yeah.
But this had, the church would have been somewhere outside the walls here. Okay. I might have even been over there. I don't know. Because this wall is newer than that. Because clearly when they put the tombstones in the wall, it was built at some point
earlier.
later.
Yeah.
So most of the tombs that you'll have here are the flat ones like the Moravians always did. And then you have newer part of the cemetery. Plus a lot of ones that were brought over from Tabor when they decided to put a parking lot in about 2008, I think.
Okay.
Somewhere around now, 2014, they wound out digging the people up and reinterring them here.
Oh, really? So you said they put a parking lot in?
Yeah.
Where at?
It was at Tabor, the church.
Oh, Tabor.
That's,
okay.
They say it's a competition between Tabor and Salem Evangelical. Which one's older? Okay. Steitz donated the land for both of them.
Okay, gotcha.
Supposedly Steitz is buried in Tabor.
Okay.
because it fits the date and stuff like that, but nobody really knows. It's one of those things that the records got lost after 200
Hey, so we want to
years.
mention when we're on this one right here. So now John and I and our friend Missy are all here today, and how it works out is there's no really any parking here unless you come down here on a Sunday when this business is closed. What's it called?
It's a home improvement store.
Yeah, so just so you're aware, if you're coming down here during the weekdays, it's going to be tight for parking.
And it's better to park off of Walnut because there is an entrance down here, a long gateway that goes down, but it's private property technically.
Yeah, there's a sign. So we're not. And seriously, I'm saying this. We're not promoting you to trespass, but no. But that's how we were able to go ahead and park today. So seriously, if you're gonna come up here, this is really neat. I mean, and this is the first time I've ever even heard of this whole freaking place. It's Missy's first time here. There are so many cool pine trees in here, and they are old.
Yeah.
I mean, so you'll have to scan, and show people that if you haven't already in a previous
I'll wind
video.
up doing that.
Yeah, but it's cool. I mean, this is really a neat place. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is it's not quite as old. I think this is 1748, whereas the other ones were around, I think 1742, 44 for Tabor and Salem. Okay. Salem, I believe, whatever cemetery they originally had there at the church, there's only one cemetery stone there anymore.
Okay.
Because that all got moved. But that was sort of these downtown churches. There was no parking. And as we went through the ages, a lot of them shut down ultimately, like Tabor did, and Hebron got moved over on the 9th Street, or the second Moravian church, and then they ultimately moved out of town partially because they needed to have more room. But we're going to go check out some of these stones. Hopefully we can find a couple of these ones, because I think we're looking for I think grave 28, 33, 34 and 68, and then 200 something
Can you
is.
take a picture of that so you can go ahead and remember? I mean,
so I'm gonna look at that, and then
you switch this around.
Yeah, because this is there's a grave here that is Native Americans. I believe it's 283, and that one's down here somewhere. So we're gonna start heading over here. We're gonna show you a little more of the cemetery.
So, let me borrow your camera one last time. Okay. Hey, so anyway, this is my friend Missy's. It's her first day meeting John, and I know that in the future they're gonna get a lot of things together because they're both very knowledgeable and stuff like that. So what it comes down to is today's her first time, so she will be off camera. Okay, if you hear this voice, it's not the ghost. Okay, it's Missy talking. Okay?
Might be.
It could be the ghost. We don't know. But anyway, but just so you're aware. But this is kind of cool because I've known Missy for years and I've known John for years, and I know that they're both very knowledgeable, and just seeing them talk already blows me away. Very cool. So that's cool.
Okay, we'll head over. Sorry.
I have a flag in my car that.
Whee!
You can let her know when you're starting to talk about shit that under your breath.
So here we have, I believe, 28 and 33. This is Johann Spittler, Senior and Junior. They were killed relatively within just a couple days in Indian attacks. And there's also another 2 graves here somewhere we got to find. And there's another father and son, Bittner family. And the wife actually, like we talked about earlier in the video, she never came back, but was taken. And I'm going to try to look for some of these and see if I can find them, as well as just sort of like I said, you just don't have, even though they're buried next to each other, you have 33 and then 28, and it's just sort of, you have 82 right next to that, so it's sort of hard to, and some of these stones aren't the easiest things in the world to read either. Interesting thing of note, so Missy, who's with us, she's very into the ghost stories and things like that, and she has that's the thing on her phone that sort of tells if there's like weird spiritual stuff going on or whatever. This individual, Henrietta, apparently was saying something along the lines of "find my ring," and somewhere else over here was somebody that's basically said "get out." So it's sort of weird stuff. But you have all these kinds of things in these cemeteries. I think we're going to visit the one near Cleona that we visited before, the Bowman Crider Cemetery. It's actually sort of, I guess, a groundhog dug stuff up, and you can actually see skull bones and other bones. So we're going to go visit there, and then we're going to go back out to Sadison's. Here's a thing that was put up here. Hebron Moravian Cemetery. This Gottes Acker of the Unitas Fratrorum was hollowed March 1748 by Reverend John Philip Muir, and contains, amongst many others, the bodies of revolutionary soldiers and victims of Indian cruelty. This boulder, erected in 1929 under the auspices of the Lebanon County Historical Society and dedicated by the Swatara tribe, number 276, Improved Order of Red Men Incorporated. You can definitely tell there's some age to this because that wouldn't ever go today. Daughters of the American Revolution and other patriotic citizens participating. They rest in peace, these sainted dead. Now we'll quick go over here. I'm going to see if I can find the Spitlers just quick. But this is a cannon actually from the Civil War. A lot of times in these cemeteries you'll have these cannons, and they are usually reproductions. But in this case, it's an actual cannon, and they have a plaque here as well talking about it. Civil War cannon. Captured by the Confederates in battle and spiked, recaptured by the Union troops, later stored at the Allegheny Arsenal. So this is a cannon from the actual Civil War. So I'm gonna quick look at my thing again and see if I can find these other two stones. So here we have grave 63. This is, I believe, Benner Jr. He was the son of Christian Benner, whose wife had been kidnapped. He is not right next to 34, so in fact, actually is right above here. I just realized this is 34. Johannes, okay, so now I was wrong. Here's Johannes Spitler. He's the one that was killed by Native Americans, and there's his son. I was one down here too far. So I found this is the Spitlers that got killed in that raid. I was at the wrong place. And that's the Benner. And here's, okay, so there's Johannes Spitler Sr. And this is Jr. And this is, here's, just so you can see this then. This is where it says Von Deer Wilden. Yeah, it's killed by the wild men. So that was cool.
We moved off.
Yeah. Okay, so these right here.
So that's the, I think that's the father.
Okay.
And it says the Von Deer Wilden.
Okay.
That's killed by the wildmen.
Okay.
And then this is the son,
is
who was killed, I think, like a couple days later. This is one of the Benners that was murdered. At 63, I still haven't found 33 yet. I don't know if I'm going to look for that any further, but that 287, if I remember correctly, that's the one that was the two Native Americans that were killed in the trial. So I wanted to let you guys know, if you want to visit Hebron Moravian Cemetery, this is in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. It's right off of Walnut Street. Not an easy place to park, but really interesting time here. The lady is with us. She does paranormal investigations and stuff like that. And a couple weird things, like it seemed like there was somebody walking back and forth between us. And like I said, the one point to Henrietta said, "Please find my ring." And then another person was just saying, "Get out," right near where marker 287, which is apparently where two Native Americans are buried that were killed in a raid at some point. But really is a neat cemetery with a lot of history. Thanks for coming along, and we'll see you all about town.